A lot of us are paying for things that immediately pay for demanding to have someone slit their throat or have someone raped or have someone's eggs taken from them. And it's just needless. We don't have to, we as consumers, and this is one of the few cases in everything that happens, all the horrible shit that happens in the world, that we have power with, individual power. We are the consumers, so we pay for all this to happen. If we don't pay for it, the businesses go down. Hey, what's up, man?
I've seen this a few times. And I agree that veganism is definitely a good thing and people should do it.
Oh, nice.
But in terms of the argument of everything or everyone,
sure,
the entire globally, it kind of ignores human human evolution in terms of we did hunt at least to supplement what we couldn't get from agriculture, and in that sense, it's you could supplement. We can supplement a heck of a lot more through farming, but in that sense, one, we're going to have a heck of a lot of farming, deforestation, things like that. Sustainability obviously is possible, but that's, I guess that's a different issue in itself. And then, I guess in environments like South America or places that aren't suitable for farming, at least initially, in terms of the Amazon.
For plant farming?
Yeah, for plant farming in terms of a widespread for the population, those populations seem to rely more on meats because those, they're richer, I guess, per, the amount of thing.
Okay, have you heard of documentaries like Game Changers or What the Health?
I've seen What the Health.
Okay, right on. So the consensus in the scientific community now, anthropologically speaking, we didn't evolve to depend on animal agriculture products. We're not baby cows, so we shouldn't be drinking the breast milk of another species. Biologically, there's no imperative. There's no nutrients that we, right, and same goes for meat. We're not actually carnivorous or omnivorous, biologically speaking. Now, socially speaking, of course we can choose to do whatever we want. I could choose to kill or rape someone, even though I know it's wrong. But that doesn't mean I need to biologically. It doesn't mean that I depend on eating someone's dead flesh for nutrients. So do you think that we could get our nutrients from plants?
Well, now that we have farming, yeah, I believe we can, but without a system of farming, no. Absolutely not.
Well, we currently have a system of farming, right?
So
because
in our
think about this, cows eat 6 to 12 times what a human would eat.
Yeah.
So we have to grow crops, plants,
Yeah.
to feed that cow. The nutrients we're getting out of the dead flesh of that cow was originally obtained from the plants. It's the protein from the plants, it's all the healthy stuff from the plants, but filtered through the dead body of a murdered slave. So that's the only reason there's no need to be eating animal agriculture products. Also, all meat is a carcinogen. So if asbestos and cigarettes, had some protein, would we eat them 3 times a day? No, of course not. That'd be crazy. We do have alternative options, and we actually produce enough crops right now because we're producing so much more to feed to this livestock that eats more than we do. We could end world starvation 3 times over currently with the crops we're producing. Now, it's not sustainable, the amount of crops we're producing now, but we can reduce it by about 2/3 and still feed the world and get all their nutrient needs met. And you talk about, indigenous peoples and natives that hunted. Sure, humans did stuff in our evolution for a short period of time, maybe because we lived in Arctic regions where we had to. That doesn't mean that we developed an evolutionary biological dependency on those products. So we don't no longer do we need to do these things. In a modern civilized society, even indigenous peoples around the world today eat a majoritively plant-based diet. And those who don't, who hunt, once every 6 months or once a month, they have increased mortality rates. So we know that's not healthy, we know it's not necessary, and we know that there's a wildlife depletion problem even with hunting due to overhunting. So even natives in their tribes are looking around and saying, oh my gosh, where'd all the deer go? Industrialization and overhunting has destroyed the planet, maybe we should cut back on that, because they're intuitively aware by observing their environment. So yeah, I'm saying everyone who can, for whoever it's practicably possible, they should go vegan. Veganism, that's just the definition. It means reduce cruelty in your life as much as practically possible. And for us here in this modern civilized society, there's no reason when you go to the grocery store, instead of grabbing the cruelty product that damages the planet, your health, and the lives of sentient individuals, move your arm this way, grab the cruelty-free one, and you're done. Simple, simple. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's, in terms, yeah.
So what do you know, can you think of, because there's so many misconceptions, I named off a couple documentaries, but the UN climate report is telling us animal agriculture is one of the leading causes of destruction. There's nutritionfacts.org is a great peer-reviewed resource for finding about your health and how we depend on a 100% plant-based diet. But unless you don't know that, it's hard to think of the reasons for doing it. So what would you say is something we get from dead flesh that we can't get from plants? Is there anything at all you can think of?
I actually don't believe there is.
Oh, okay.
I'm
A
not
lot of
trying
people
to-
will say protein,
I'm
and
not trying to approach this from like, I mean, in terms of health. I mean, because like I'm seeing so many things now about like that in terms of even like peak human performance. That it's a plant-based diet. That's
totally.
efficient.
That's the Game Changers documentary is
Yeah.
all about that. It's
And
really
it's-
good.
And
I
it's
was
just
just going to say, not to interrupt you.
Oh, no, yeah.
But I was curious because I'd never seen this out here before, and I
Okay, yeah.
constantly have this argument with people. I'm 68 years old. I tell people, look, it'd be one case if he's trying to make the argument in Alabama in 1960.
Sure, right, right.
2020.
Yeah,
There
yeah.
are thousands and thousands of people, and I'm one of them. I have not knowingly eaten meat since 1975.
Wow.
And it's the smartest thing I ever did. I'm 68 years old. I'm
Still
running half
kicking, huh?
marathons.
Wow.
He's right. There are 5 arguments. It's unnecessary. It's incredibly cruel. It's just wrecking the atmosphere. And plus, you're making us all antibiotic resistant.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, if I get sick and antibiotics don't work anymore, that's squarely on the people eating commercial meat.
Sure, sure. Yeah, 80% of our antibiotics
Other
go to
than
meat.
a perverse taste indulgence or habit, there's no reason at all.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for your input. Appreciate it.
yeah, no, it's definitely been. But I've just been curious in terms of I guess like historic or just like in terms of early humans. Like
Totally,
it seems like
yeah.
we did have some wants or at least some thing that we at least as human. I mean, at least as groups.
You're right.
got
Like
from
I
it,
said,
like-
socially, we are totally omnivorous. Like there is this incentive for building teamwork and building community and social skills, learning how to navigate the woods and communicate with your other tribe members so you can track down and hunt this other creature. And the creatures were far more abundant in our wildlife than they are now. So it was just kind of a social inclination. That's why we're social omnivores. But let's see, can you name anything that shows that we are omnivores, biologically speaking?
Can I take a picture of your thing?
Of course, of course.
Me and my boyfriend are vegetarian, but
Okay,
we're
right on.
starting to eliminate animal products right now.
Excellent,
So
very good,
I'm
very
gonna
good.
send this to him. It's
Good for
awesome.
you guys.
Okay.
Can you think of anything
Thank
like,
you.
yep, have a good one.
You too.
Biologically that shows us we're omnivores?
Well. So.
It's tough, right? It's
there-
tough.
there really-
We're told like incisors,
Yeah,
right,
but
for ripping into dead flesh. But it turns out herbivores are the biggest animals on the planet, and they have massive 4-inch. Have you ever seen a gorilla? They got a 4-inch canine, but they're herbivorous. The great apes, we evolved from the great apes. They ate plant-based diet. They're herbivores. All the great apes are herbivores. There is one chimpanzee that ate about 4% of a meat diet, and they go and climb into trees and they bite off the heads of little smaller monkeys. It's kind of creepy, kind of gross, but that was 4%, so small in our early human evolution from great apes that it doesn't even have a biological requirement. And those are actually perceived, those products, milk, dairy, eggs, are perceived as foreign and toxic to our body. When we put them in, our body goes into repair mode, figuring out what the heck can I do with all this weird toxic foreign stuff, and you end up not being able to absorb any nutrients there might even be in the meat, trying to bandage up the wounds that are happening, clogged arteries, cholesterol, stuff like that.
I guess I don't. In terms of cheeses,
Yeah.
is what is so bad about like? I mean, I guess like sustainable or just like goat cheese or like something you get
Right.
from like
Are you a baby goat?
No.
Okay, so it's probably not going to be
No,
good
no,
for your body. Or baby cow, all dairy products, right? Sure, I can eat toilet paper. I'll probably process it, but it's not designed for my body. It's like putting kerosene in your gas tank of your car. It's gonna run for a bit, but you're gonna see some serious problems later down the road because that's not what your car's designed to have put in it.
But I mean, chemically, I'd imagine that fat. I guess animal. Yeah.
Do you know that dairy has casomorphine? Have you ever heard of that term?
Yeah, I have ones, but
it's
I'm
like
not-
morphine. It's like a
Yeah.
drug. It gets you addicted. It's designed from the mother cow to give to the calf so that the calf recognizes that's her mom. So it becomes addicted. It's a chemical hormonal substance. It creates the same wiring of addiction in the brain that heroin does. That's how potent it is. It's like morphine. It's highly concentrated in dairy, especially in cheese, because that's the more dense concentration of dairy products. So you find casomorphine a little bit more. But yeah, this is something that will get us addicted to these products, even though they're damaging for our health. They'll rewire our brain to feel like we need them, to feel like, oh, cheese loves me. Cheese makes me feel good. Cheese is like my mom, because that's what the chemical's designed to do. And so since we're not baby cows, it's kind of weird that we do that to another species. And I don't know if you know where dairy comes from. Like, the cow has to be pregnant, right, for them to lactate. Yeah, so cows produce milk just like a female human woman would produce milk. They get pregnant, and when their baby's born, they drink the milk. But since cows, we don't have the time or the resources to be letting them meet out in the wild and have romantic evening. We don't put them together on Match.com, cowmatch.com. Exactly. So we go in their fist first, up their anus, up to our elbow, and we rape them. And we take the semen from a bull that we manually jacked off. So 2 forms of bestiality and rape there. Pretty weird, right? Already. And then we forcefully inseminate that cow. And what happens when their child is born? They can't drink the milk. So the second the child is born, we slit their throat. Little baby cows. It's so sad. These are animals with love, with compassion, with a social drive to take care of their maternal, to take care of their loved ones. They feel pain, suffering, fear, torment. I mean, we enslave them. We force them into existence just to rape them repeatedly. Every 9 months, we rape these mother cows. And as soon as they have their kids, we slit their throat and we suck the milk out of them because humans want it, not because humans need it. And once that cow becomes exhausted, they call them spent dairy cows. They become exhausted from being raped so much, as I'm sure you could imagine anyone would get exhausted from repeated rape. They only live to be about 3 years old. They could live to be 25, but they get raped so much that they only live to be 3, and that's what becomes our meat. That's what makes our hamburgers. So this is the cycle that goes around. It's disgusting, it's sadistic, and needless.
Do you believe there's any animal industry that, in any sense, I mean small or large, I mean that is not, I guess gross to that extent, or
right.
that one that maybe has a small amount of merit?
Right, so people will ask me, well, you know what, I have some hens that I rescued and I keep them in my backyard. I didn't buy them from a breeder because that would be exploitative, right? If we're forcibly breeding a sentient being into existence, just because they have different skin than us, or they speak a different language, or they may not be as intelligent as us, we don't use that as an excuse to go around murdering and raping and enslaving and force breeding these creatures into existence. So if you're buying from a breeder, that's exploitative. But if you're rescuing a hen like they do at animal sanctuaries, and then they happen to produce eggs, is it okay to eat those eggs? That's one question that I get a lot that I didn't know about until I looked into the research. You have your own backyard rescued hens, they produce eggs, and you want to eat them for some reason. The important thing is to realize what happens when you take a hen's egg. It forces, so a hen, do you know what the eggs are when a hen produces them? It's the period. It's a hen's period. So it's an inseminated egg that passes through. We forcibly genetically modify these hens to produce way more, hundreds more than they would have produced in the wild. So what we've designed them to do is when we take an egg from them, it tells their body, oh my gosh, you need to produce another egg. So imagine if you had like your mom or a friend of yours, your girlfriend or your sister, someone you know that's a girl who you know has a period. Imagine if you took the excretions from her period to consume them. And imagine if that then told her body, I need to have another period immediately. It would be torment. It's hard on their bodies. You've seen a woman go through a period. It's hard on their bodies. It's uncomfortable, it doesn't feel great. Imagine if you were forcing them to go through that experience over and over every time you took their period blood and consumed it. Not only would that be weird and seem out of place, but it would be torment to that woman. So that's what happens. So it's called brooding. That's what happens to these hens when we take their eggs or we take their periods. And that's the only argument that I've heard, until I really did the research and learned about backyard hens. Early on when I went vegetarian at first, I was like, backyard hens. Sure, it's not gonna hurt them to just take their eggs. They're just laying them anyway. It actually forces them to breed more, give more, distribute more eggs, produce more eggs, and we're viewing them as a product, as a resource, and they're not, they're individuals. They have personalities. Yeah. So I can't think of anything in the animal agriculture industry. I think humans should be just eating what they're designed to eat, what this earth has designed us to eat, just plants. You go over to a plant and you pull an apple, off the tree, that tree automatically produces another apple to replace it. It doesn't scream, it doesn't run away. It's biologically designed. Nature has provided these beautiful plants, all this vegetation to serve us, to serve the organisms around it. They need to be harvested. That's what helps them continue to replenish and grow and spread. So I think we should be doing that to try to help the environment and our health and the animals. I don't think there's any reason to go around killing needlessly. Now that being said, veganism just means to reduce the cruelty in your life as much as practically possible. So I probably stepped on a bug here today or something like that. When I get in my car, I'm driving on non-vegan roads and I'm destroying a whole infrastructure. Existing as a human is going to cause some cruelty and some harm, but if you can avoid it, if it's practically possible for you to avoid that cruelty, which is the least we can do, it's super easy to do that with our food. and our money, with our day-to-day choices. A lot of us are paying for things that immediately pay for demanding to have someone slit their throat or have someone raped or have someone's eggs taken from them. And it's just needless. We don't have to, we as consumers, and this is one of the few cases in everything that happens, all the horrible shit that happens in the world, that we have power with, individual power. We are the consumers, so we pay for all this to happen. If we don't pay for it, the businesses go down. The largest dairy industry just went bankrupt the other day, within the last week.
In Sweden.
Yeah, so that's a great sign, and that's because the CEO attributed this to a decline in dairy sales. They're bankrupt. They're done for. That's millions of less cows that are getting raped every day all around the world. This is great, and it's all because we decided to say, when I go to the grocery store, I'm not buying this. I'm going to buy this instead. Super easy. Yeah.
It was nice talking to you.
Nice talking to you. What's your name?
Adam.
Adam, I'm Jackson. It was great to meet you. You seem like a really kind, open-minded guy. Would you be interested in taking some info?
Sure.
Cool. If you want to know about the health stuff, that's all there. There's documentaries, YouTube stuff. If you want to know about the ethics, why it's morally unjustifiable to do this to animals, there's that. And then there's, of course, the environmental stuff. Yeah. Have a good day, Adam.
All right, you too.